Hello everyone, I am Seth from Myriad Misadventures, and today's video is about my trip to Phnom Penh in Cambodia. Just a disclaimer, I'm probably going to pronounce everything wrong. I apologize in advance. It's just all going to be wrong, probably all of it. I'm very sorry. So everybody has their travel bucket list with places they really want to go, and Angkor Wat was near the top of mine. So we decided to go to Siem Reap for Chinese New Year this past year to see it. We decided to fly into Phnom Penh though, not Siem Reap, so we spent a couple days there first before we went over to Siem Reap to see Angkor Wat. Even though I was kind of angsty to see Angkor Wat, I still enjoyed our couple days in Phnom Penh. As usual, we took the first day pretty slow. We got in late, so we slept in a little bit, and then we went to try to see the Royal Palace. We were unsuccessful. Turns out that the Royal Palace is closed during lunch from like 11 to 2 or something, but we did not know that, so guess when we got there? Right in the middle of lunch, and it was closed. We could have sat around and waited for it to open, but we figured it would be a better use of our time to go see something else and maybe come back later. So we went south and we saw the Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Monument. After seeing the monument, we went east to the Mekong River, and then we followed the river north. Near where the Tonle Sap River meets the Mekong River, we found like this market, and then we just wandered through the market, taking in the sights and sounds of the market and looking out over the river. We had a quick snack, and from there we went north to Wat Phnom, which I believe is a Buddhist temple. We wandered around a bit, and once we found it, we just kind of walked in. Turns out you need to pay a fee to get in. We didn't know that. When we found it, we didn't find the main entrance, so we just kind of walked in, and then we followed a path around, and we saw the entrance, and we saw people paying, and whoops. So we hopped back out, and then came back in through the main entrance. And now I know not to just wander into places. By then it was getting late. We decided to save the Royal Palace for later, so we just called it a day. We had dinner. We just relaxed. The second day was much more somber, I guess. In the 1970s, Cambodia fell under the control of Pol Pot, who changed the name of the country. He tried to reform the economy, although I guess it didn't work out so well. And he started the Cambodian genocide, which killed more than 1 million people. The country still bears the scars of the event, and there are a number of places you can go to experience a little bit of that history. We chose to visit the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum at S21 and the Killing Fields at Chung Ek. S21 was originally a school that got converted to a prison during Pol Pot's regime. Now it is a museum. And for a $5 entrance fee, you can get in and go through a number of rooms at the school-turned-prison. Some rooms are full of history, for example, pictures of people who died, or timelines of the events, or devices they used to torture people. And some of the rooms were kept similar to how they were when prisoners were brought in. And in the middle, there is a monument to those who died. The Chung Ek killing fields are exactly what they sound like, killing fields. They are where prisoners were brought to be killed. Many prisoners from S21 were brought to the killing fields at Chung Ek. Just like at S21, in the middle of the killing fields, there is a monument to those who died. And around the monument, you can learn some of the field's grisly history. For example, areas where they executed prisoners, where a guardhouse stood, where they brought the prisoners when they first got there, things like that. Even a tree where they killed babies, which was one of the most gruesome things there. Both areas are extremely difficult to get through and not really your typical vacation fare, but I think that they're also very important to see. There's that old saying where if you don't learn history, you're doomed to repeat it, or something like that. But I think that learning history in a book is a little detached, maybe. You read about it and you learn what happened, but you're so far removed from it, it's a little difficult to really understand the gravity of what happened, I guess. But seeing it up close, like you can at S21 in the killing fields, is completely different. seeing it like that really hits home the weight of what happened. And although it's not what you usually think about when you think about vacation, I think that if you are in Phnom Penh, it's a very important thing to see. Seeing things like that is probably the only way we'll ever really be able to not repeat history. Hopefully. The museum at S21 is in the city, a little bit away from the center, I guess, but it's still in the city. But the killing fields are a little ways out. We got a tuk-tuk that took us to both the museum at S21 and the Chungek killing fields. It'll take you to the museum, you can go through, then it'll take you out to the killing fields, and when you're finished, it will bring you back to the city. Probably a good way to do it, unless you can rent a motorbike or something yourself. After the killing fields and the genocide museum, we needed something a little bit lighter. So after we got back to Phnom Penh, we went to a cat cafe. Total 180. I had never been to a cat cafe before. They're awesome. You go in, you buy a drink, and then you get to play with a bunch of cats. There's not much to dislike, unless you're one of those people that doesn't like cats, and I don't know what to say to you then. Go to the cat cafe. After we finished the cat cafe, we went to look for this like rooftop bar that looks out over the river, and we couldn't find it. We went down the alley where the door was supposed to be, and then we just kind of walked around the alley trying to find the door, unsuccessfully. Luckily, another lady came down the street, asked if we were looking for that bar, and then pulled open a giant Budweiser can on the wall. Turned out the big wall Budweiser can was the door, and not just a wall ornament. So we got lucky that she happened to come down. If I had been her and I had seen me walking around in that dark alley, I would not have walked down. Luckily, she figured what we were looking for, I guess, and helped us out. Once we got up there, it was pretty cool seeing the river and a little bit of the city spread out like that. Our third day was a little more stereotypically touristy than our second day. After breakfast, we went to Wat Batum, which is like a little complex with a bunch of temples in it. It was pretty close to the Friendship Monument that we had gone to on the first day. After that, we kept walking to see the King Norodom Sihanouk Memorial. I apologize for mispronouncing all of that. And close to that, the Independence Monument. Both the memorial to the king and the Independence Monument and Wat Batum are all pretty close to the Vietnam-Cambodia Friendship Monument. They're all pretty close to each other. So we probably should have seen them all together, but we didn't. After that, we went to the Royal Palace for the afternoon. The Royal Palace complex is very, very big. There are a lot of buildings there, and I'm not gonna lie, I spent a lot of it kinda lost. We had like a little map, but every time I looked at the map, I had a hard time figuring out where I was, so I'm not quite sure what all the buildings that I saw were. I thought I was at the Silver Pagoda because I saw a building that was pretty silvery, but it wasn't the Silver Pagoda. So if you go, maybe get a better map than I had because I was very confused. All of the things in that complex are quite impressive though. It's the Royal Palace, so obviously everything there is very, very fancy. So it's definitely worth seeing, even if you get horribly lost like I did. It wasn't even really that big. I don't know how I could get so lost. Kind of embarrassing, really. And that was basically it for Phnom Penh. We did have a little less than a day in Phnom Penh when we came back from Siem Reap because we had a round trip plane flight ticket from Phnom Penh. When we came back, we went to a cool burger restaurant and we went to see the National Museum. We didn't have time to go in, but we admired it from outside. It's also very impressive. But after the Royal Palace, that was pretty much the end of our time in Phnom Penh. So to wrap it up with my travel fails from Phnom Penh, the first was not checking times. We went to the Royal Palace when they were closed during lunch. I expected stuff to just be open, but I lived in Spain for 2 years. I should expect that things might close during lunch and check beforehand. The second was not being careful when I went to places, which caused us to just wander into Wat Phnom without paying. We didn't get in trouble or anything, but it was kind of awkward when we wandered to the front and saw that we were supposed to pay, and we were those weird tourists that just kind of wandered in like, oh, look at all this cool stuff, without going in the main entrance and paying. And the third was not grouping together things that were close, which I should be good at by now. The Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Monument, the Independence Monument, the Memorial for the King, and Wat Butum were all very close to each other, but we went to the Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Monument, and only the Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Monument on the first day, and then on the third day we went to the other three. It would have made a lot more sense to do all four together, but I was not efficient enough. Don't be like me. Alright everybody, thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you know when I have more videos, all that normal YouTube stuff. And if you have been to Phnom Penh, if you have been to Phnom Penh, what was your favorite thing there? Because I probably missed it. I do a lot of that. Leave me a comment down below with what I should have seen. Good, the button didn't push. And Felix, I suppose, is he in, is he not in?